weekly podcast where we discuss all things related to creating, living, and making projects. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, and joining me as always is Maker Mackie and Jessy Ratfink. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about something because earlier this week, we had our first ever Discord hangout. And during that, Jessy came up with something interesting that she wanted to talk about, so I'll pass it over to her.
So after we talked with everybody, I kind of realized that there are a lot of parts of the maker world that I am just not familiar with, and people who are name dropped all the time that I really have no knowledge of. So I wanted to talk about the different maker communities, whether it be like old school forums or DIY websites or YouTube or TikTok or whatever people are using. There are even probably Discord servers, I'm sure, just for crafting and DIY. I kind of wanted to talk about the different areas, maybe the ones that we've been active in, the ones that we might never be active in, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there is so much, like, thinking back about the different ways. You can even think about it, the ways that social media has developed from IRC and even bulletin board systems. Like, there used to be so few people on the internet that if you made a little corner of the internet, people would find it. And now there's so much of the internet that making your own website is almost impossible to get any traction on it unless you are broadcasting it everywhere. And I think, maybe we can go back to where did you find a community early on, whether it be maker or not, and then go from there to where do you find community today? Because I think it's a lot different.
Well, I was going to say, even go back to when you and I first met.
Yeah.
Like the how much the times have changed. Like we met and then we were in a group chat on YouTube, because YouTube used to have instant messaging, which we had a group chat on there, which then progressed to Discord, and then it's pretty much all Discord for me now.
Yeah. But okay, so if I go back to the original times, I don't need to go back to bulletin board systems, which that 99% of people out here don't even know what they are. But we can go to what there was chat rooms. What were those chat rooms called? Like IRC, not IRC.
IRC?
Was it?
No, not IRC. AOL?
Yeah, IRC. So there was chat rooms, and I used to set up.
Mm-hmm.
So there was chat rooms, and I would go into them to find, you could just search for different topics, and there'd be a chat room about a particular topic. Or one of my best friends I met in a chat room about our city. So he would set up a chat room, and it would be open to the public about our city. And I saw, Kingston, Ontario. I'm from Kingston. I went in there, and that's how I met, this good friend of mine since high school days, in a chat room online. Where were your first, connecting with people, regardless of the maker community?
So me, it was probably newgrounds.com. They used to have forums there. And then pretty much right after that, the IGN boards those were my first two big online social experiences for sure.
Yeah. I used to go
I've never really met people outside of the maker community. I think the maker community was the first time I ever sort of met people online.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's neat. So where did you start?
Yeah. Where did you start? What did you do in high school? Because the internet, I know it's Australia, so you're 20 years behind, but...
I lived my real life with my real friends.
Oh, you're so cool.
No, I don't know. I see. The thing is, I'm a very shy person, so for me to reach out to people or whatever is always hard. Even these days, it's other than the Discord, I don't really talk to many people. I'm very enclosed, and I've pretty much only got one friend in real life that I really talk to a lot. Other than that, there's not really many people I talk to because I'm just so shy and enclosed. So I don't know.
That's why I always went towards message boards, because it didn't have to be me, I
Yeah.
could sort of just hide behind the username and it was easier for me. But I'm the same. Yeah, I don't have like very many friends. I just have like a very small group of close friends and then like a lot of random internet friends and acquaintances that I've made over the
Yeah.
years.
But where did you find out about the message, like the forums and message boards? Like, how did you find them immediately? Like,
Oh,
I can
that
trace back
was
like the first
computer
forum
lab.
I was on, Computer Lab.
Uh-huh.
What happened in Computer Lab?
Well, so because I was one of the nerds, I always finished my work really quickly. And one of the other nerds that I was in there with, can't remember if it was Nolan or Jonathan, but someone I was in computer lab with showed me Newgrounds.
Mm,
Um, and that was when it just sort of took off for me. And I started realizing there were places online that I could chat that weren't chats because I wasn't a big fan of chat rooms.
yeah, chat rooms were. I feel like Discord is more like a chat room
Mhm.
because it's
Mm.
like, especially if you're in a bigger Discord, it's like nonstop text
Yeah.
messages, and they just go away, right? Chat rooms, you would go in there, you weren't there, you weren't expecting to read everything, and
Yeah.
forums put them in topics and allowed you to actually keep up and read everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Discord can
So,
definitely be overwhelming in that way. Like I feel like I do need to read it.
right, the only reason you need to read it is because you can scroll back, but it's a chat
Yeah.
room that you don't need to. Right? It should, like, a wish Discord. So the Discord has threads that you can start in 24 hours. They go away. Right? I wish any message from 24 hours ago went away, or 48 hours ago on Discord went away. You just could not reference it anymore.
I could get behind that, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, other than like pinned messages and like,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like the general talk should just, like, there should be a channel that is like, in 24 hours this disappears, right?
I'm
But
honestly trying to think if I've been in chat rooms before, and I don't think. I want to say I have. Like, I feel like I can remember it, but I don't remember it. If that makes sense. I will say there is one. So when I split up with my last real girlfriend before my wife, there was one girl that I semi dated, and I met her on MSN.
mm,
Mm.
Other than that, I don't think I ever really met anyone else that I didn't meet in real life first, until we got into like the maker. And actually, even then, I can blame Grant for all that because he's the one that pulled me into the YouTube chat, and he's the one that then pushed me. It got me pushed into the Discord, and then into the new Discord, and it's all blown up from there. Before that, though, I would have never reached out to anything myself. I don't know.
I believe that, because you didn't even have like your contact information on your
No,
about page filled out on YouTube,
nothing.
right? I was like, "Where are you from? You got a cool accent." Like, I remember that was like one of the first things I was like, "You're like, I'm from Australia," and I'm like, "You should probably put that somewhere," right?
Yeah, I think I could honestly say that Grant was probably my first real friend online, like
Oh,
Oh,
from all
yay,
this.
internet friends.
now you just have to make it to Canada so we can meet in real
Yeah,
life,
one day. Australians go to Canada all the time. I don't know why I can't do it.
because it's
I'll
really
get there one day.
far.
It's
It's
really
really
fucking far.
far. Yeah, it's like the other side of the world. Um,
What if I go the
I
other
can
way?
remember the I could just go the other way. It's all good. The first time I remember going on like a forum was actually in university, and I found out about it through other people I lived in residence with. Uh, what do Americans call residence? Dorm
Dorms?
rooms. Yeah.
Yep.
So we call it residence in Canada because we like to be different. Um, yeah, and I just remember like the people I was living with on the same floor were like, "You should need to check this out, so that we can then have conversations online instead of in person." Because it's a bunch of software programming and
Yep,
stuff
I
like
was
that.
about to ask because that sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So that's where I remember starting that, and it was it was a lot of fun. But think about like the community. Like, I definitely developed a community with those people and online, and I know, like, we had hangouts with people from those forums in real life. like they all drove up because we had a little group in Ottawa because we all were on the same at one point the same floor. Then we all moved to the same street, and we all like lived. So we had like hangouts with all these people from across the world would like come to Ottawa. And remember, one guy got turned around at the border because he had marijuana convictions.
Oh,
Anyways,
no.
all that it was great. Anyways, so these like online communities can become real life communities, and I
Mhm.
think forums were great. And then what happened is what happens with a lot of them is that every website thought they needed to have a forum.
Yep.
Like Instructables had a forum.
Hmm.
Every website had a forum, and then forums were dead, and then every website needed to have a Facebook page,
Yep.
right? And Facebook pages and groups were great for a little bit. Uh, did you have any experience with Facebook groups, meeting anyone?
I not actually meeting anyone, but lurking in big
Mm-hmm.
ones. Like I wish I could remember the name of it. There was one that was all about Etsy and all of the horrible things on Etsy, and I wish I could remember. Regretsy, Regretsy. I was in
Regretsy.
that group for a long time. And some quilting groups and like gardening groups, like old house demo groups. Like I got pretty deep into Facebook for a little while, but I didn't participate a lot. I just sort of lurked.
Yeah. I found like the problem I've always had with Facebook is people trying to use it as like a learning area, like a how to and stuff. And it's not because you can't search it, right? Like you can't make. So I was part of like this motorsports club of Ottawa, and they had a forum like all of them do. And it started to go a little bit dormant. But what I loved about it is that you could search and find out everything that happened last year on a
Hmm.
particular topic and then know what's coming up this year. And Facebook just doesn't let you do it. Facebook
Yeah.
is horrible for search.
Yep.
Yeah. And it just gets worse and worse. Like, I feel like back in 2016, it was kind of easy. And I remember around the time that I deleted my account, yeah, it was just impossible to find anything. Very
Yep.
frustrating.
So Facebook's probably not the place to find your maker community. Like I know like Chris and Corey from the Makeshift podcast. They, despite meeting in the Navy, they later reconnected on the I Like to Make Stuff Facebook group. Right, that's where they
Oh.
saw each other and like, oh, I know who you are, and then now they have a podcast, so it's pretty cool. But I don't think a lot of people are making connections on Facebook today. Like maybe they did a
Mm-mm.
few years ago, but I don't think it's happening as much today. So maybe we can kind of transition into where are you finding, even before we transition to that, where have you found has disappeared? Because I think Facebook at one point was, and I think forums at one point was, and if you go on like the if you went on the forums before Instructables turned them down, everyone was talking about how where are we gonna go? Like what's next?
Yeah. We had like 5 people who posted, and they were very upset with us. And I still feel bad about that. Um, but as far as places that have died, as far as DIY and crafting, Tumblr was
Mm-hmm.
very big for me. I followed a lot of crafty people and people who had Etsy shops, and we were always posting stuff on there. I think I had my Tumblr linked to my Etsy at one point when they still allowed that. Like, Tumblr definitely had a moment before it all turned into gift porn, and then they stopped doing that. So yeah, it was pretty good back in the day. And I spent so long this evening searching for a craft forum I used to post on. It shut down in like, I don't know, 2014 or something. It was a really long time ago, but I used to lurk there daily and post every time I posted like a crafty instructable, and I could not find it anywhere. I could not remember the name of it. It's driving me crazy because there are a lot of those sites that you
We can
participate in
talk
and then they
after. I'll
just
find it for you.
disappear. Maybe,
I, I
yeah.
I can find it. I guarantee it. Um,
Yeah, it's got a list of every website you've ever been on.
eh. I don't have a list. I just know where to find it. Yeah. Well, I think Adam mentioned like YouTube used to have a group chat,
Yeah.
or they used to have like direct
Or even
messaging
just
and group chat,
just messaging in general. Yeah.
and they got rid of that. And I think it's one of those things that made it so that there was less community, and they made this like community page. The community page just
Mm,
isn't the same thing. It doesn't work like I. It's really hard to develop a community when the only way you can talk is publicly,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? Like if you can't direct message, and I know you can also be like a really creepy person direct messaging, but if you
Yeah, that's
can't
the other
direct
problem.
message, you can't. It's really hard to develop a relationship with someone because it's always going to feel asymmetrical because you're feeling like the people who came up to me at Maker Camp, which we can get into the real life where to find your community later. But the people who came up to me at Maker Camp, like I remember the one guy came up and said, I've been listening to this podcast, Clamp. And we were talking, and me and Morley were standing there, and we're talking about Clamp. They're like, "Oh, the guys from Clamp are here." And we're like, me and Morley look at each other, and we're like, "Yeah, we're them." And the guy's like, "Really?" Because I'm sure, like most people, who listen to podcasts at like 1.5 times, so the voices don't correlate perfectly in real life.
Mm.
But yeah, he ended up being a Canadian guy, and we ended up chatting. Good Sell. He does a lot of. I know his name is Good Sell, and I can't remember if he's like Good Sell Furniture or something like that. Um, but he's in Montreal. He's a good guy to go have a follow. I often repost his stories. But uh, you know, w- where do you find these communities, right?
Well, and now it's really only Instructables and Instagram for me. Uh,
Is
TikTok
Instructable's
is too
community
much.
though? Like,
I
is
think
there a
so.
community there anymore?
There still is. I mean, because we still have people who, like, every contest that closes, they're congratulating all of the finalists. And we have a lot
Oh
of
wow,
people who talk back and forth because, like, I really wish it was more used, but the I made it feature that we have,
yeah,
where you can show someone, hey, I made your project. It was fucking awesome. Not a lot of people use it, but when they do, like a whole conversation happens afterwards. And I love kind of
yeah,
like lurking and reading those. It's definitely not the same as it used to be. The first like 4 or 5 years with the forums, it was busy all the time. And it almost felt like a family sometimes, like because we were checking in with each other every day. So it's definitely not what it used to be, but it's still a little bit of a community.
I definitely agree that Instagram though is a place to find the community, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the where I have met the most amount of people, and like you can have these direct conversations and like get to know people, right? Like people respond to my stories, and lots of people, like even I went to the Ottawa Tool Library the other day, and the guy I was chatting with was like had seen all my stories about the bird houses, and he knew why I was there to pick up 14 Robertson red Robertson screwdrivers, number 2 Robertson. It's like a Phillips, but it's better for Americans listening.
Okay.
uh but yeah, he was like, "Oh, is this for that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's what it's for." And we talked about it, and it was, really cool. But yeah, I feel like you can develop a community there. But I think the problem with Instagram is that it doesn't have. You need to have both a public spot for comment and a private spot for comment to develop a community. Right? You can't develop a community with only private because you don't know where to find people. So you need to have some level of publicity to find people, right? And that's why a lot of people join. Like I know Andy Pugh has recently joined a men's shed in the UK, and he's doing a lot of work there. And he's finding people there to talk with, right? And if you talk with someone in that environment, and then you're like, "Hey, we can have a conversation outside," and you exchange phone numbers or whatever, you become friends, and you develop this community. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but I think there's like, do you need, maybe I'm asking, do you need to have a public and private spot to develop community? Can you develop a community where the only way you talk is publicly?
I think you
um,
can.
You can, but I don't think it ever gets as close, which is
Mm.
the bad side. But the other problem with private spaces is how clicky and gossipy they get on the internet.
Mm.
Uh, so there's definitely like two ends of that spectrum. I think that you definitely need sort of a sense of privacy, or like what I always think of is the individual boards on like a message board system. Like you'll
Right.
feel comfortable on like the Catterday board and the like dudes with chainsaws board, but maybe not everywhere else sort of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like Facebook groups to me are sort of the horrible end of that spectrum, where it's a lot of like infighting and people using social media screenshots against other people and a lot of arguing. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, privacy can be good, but privacy can also be a little rough.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the same with like Reddit. I feel like Facebook
Mhm.
groups and Reddit are practically the same thing.
Yeah.
And even Reddit is worse because I can click on someone's profile and see every single comment they've ever made
Hmm.
That's
and
nice.
every post they've ever made, right? I
Yeah.
can't see their DMs, but
I feel like Discord's like the best that I've found. I'm sure there's probably others that are similar, but Discord is like we've got our Discord that we're in, and I can just click on someone's name and message them if I wanted to.
yeah.
And I have friends on there that like I message, or then I'm also in a Discord group with as well. That our conversations between private and non-private are completely different.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's really interesting to see that.
that's how you develop friendships, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like most of my direct messages to be published. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever said anything like inappropriate, but I definitely like have conversations with people that I go, I wouldn't have this in public, right? Like
Yeah.
I talk about things that you know, would make me feel vulnerable. But there's also other
Hmm.
places where you can feel comfortable even in a group setting doing that.
Mm.
Um, I know a lot of people have talked about like another place that grew in super popularity for a little bit and now isn't as big as it once was Clubhouse. I never
Mm.
got on it, but
Mm-mm.
I hear a lot about it all the time. I, but I see a lot of shaking heads of no. So I don't think we have a lot of experience here.
Never heard of it.
So
No, none.
you've
Is it
heard of
like Club
Clubhouse.
Penguin?
I don't know what that is.
Club Penguin. It was like a online game, but it was like it was
Mhm.
actually it was probably like a chat room, but it was like you're playing a game at the same time. Like the whole point of the
Yeah.
game was to create chat rooms in sort of like VR chat rooms today, but not VR.
Yeah. So, anyways, Clubhouse is just a like online voice chat place, but like it's not recorded or anything like that. But I know a lot of people met uh, a bunch of new people through Clubhouse and had those conversations because you're like talking in real time. The same with like
Mhm.
Yeah.
Zoom, right? The whole reason that the Discord that Adam and I are in, the Makers on Zoom Having Coffee Discord, is so popular is because we did these Zoom meetings, led by Morley in the start of the pandemic. Excuse me, and uh, that was one of the things that I feel like really helped. But I don't know. I don't think you can like Zoom. You have to have found someone in another spot to get in on a Zoom.
Yeah.
Clubhouse, there's publicly available chat rooms
Yeah.
Yeah.
for apparently I don't know how it all works. I've been on it once, and I was driving with Keith uh, Blackthorn, Keith Rennan, and we were driving, and it just kept cutting out, and I was like, "This is what you do," and he's like, "Nah, it's just not working." So we quit it, and that's my experience with Clubhouse. And I went, I don't need to
Well, I mean,
experience it again.
I don't know if the Makers on Zoom having coffee Discord allows it. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, but our Discord, I'm pretty sure we haven't turned it off. Where someone could just create their own Zoom call within Discord, and people can just join in and chat.
Yes.
So there is that option.
Oh, totally. Yeah. But how did you get in that Discord? So
Yeah,
I think
exactly. Yeah,
Discord, the problem with Discord right now is that it doesn't have a lot of public, like you can have a publicly facing server and you can try and search for servers, but it's really hard to find servers that are both relevant and active.
yeah,
Because
Mhm.
I've been in a bunch of different servers over time that were relevant and nobody posted in them,
yeah,
right? And so I've left them, and maybe one day they might, but it's the same with like all the other forums and websites I've been on over time where it's like, how often do you go back and check on a forum that gets 5 posts a week?
yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of forums that are like dead but still very useful, because this is another part of the community that I really love. When I was learning leatherworking, I'm trying to remember if it's leatherworker.net or whatever, but it's like the biggest leatherworking forum. And all you have to
Yeah,
do is sign up for free and you can see everything. So
yeah,
instead of Googling all of my questions, I just signed up there and searched to see what, people with 30, 40 years of experience had to say about it because it was a very good shortcut to like just what I needed.
yeah. That's my trailer restoration. There was a fiberglass trailer site, fiberglassrv.net, and they had a forum, and it used to be super active, and that's where I learned 90% of what I know about it. And now it's all transferred to Facebook groups, and you literally
Mm.
see the exact same question every single
Yep.
day. And it's because
Yep.
Facebook's impossible to search, and you get the same people answering the same question often
Mhm.
incorrectly every day.
Or
Right?
people just
People
Yep.
don't
ask
use the
questions.
search.
You can't. Like, it's so bad that you can't do it. Whereas, like, the forum search was actually good,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
comparatively.
I mean,
Still,
yeah. I've asked questions within Facebook groups before because I just can't be bothered trying to search. It's such a pain to try and find what you're trying to search
yeah.
for. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
And so that doesn't develop a good community because people leave it because I don't want to see the same question be
Yeah.
yeah,
asked, right? So people end up leaving it, and you end up not having a good community.
yeah,
So I think there's one other way to like develop a community, and it's having um like you can develop a community around a topic if you become like you need to be super engaged in it. You need to lead the community. You need to be like
Yeah.
evangelical to get everyone to join, right? And if you're like that, then you can make your own community anywhere you want,
yeah,
right? Like if you have something that you're really passionate about, like you're just like I just love powder coating. It's the only thing I think about, right? You can make a powder coating everything type out, and you can just start pulling people in. And I think that's something that you know, if you want to find a maker community, you can find it. Now, the last thing I think is in real life, I think is the best and fastest way to develop a community, to find and become part of a community. And attending places and talking to people because just being there is not enough. But attending places, talking to people, all that is the way, in my opinion, the fastest way to grow your community, like intimately.
yeah,
If I've met someone in real life, I am 100 times more likely to follow back if they follow me. I met you in real life. You're a real live person. I will follow you back. We had a conversation. I'm following you back. I'm following your stuff. I'm liking it. I'm commenting on it. I have met you in real life. If you just follow me on Instagram, I don't know who you are. Like your username is like DIY Josh. I'm like, who's DIY Josh? I don't care. I don't know who you. We could be the best friends, but I never met you. I don't know who you are. Why am I going to follow you back? Why do I want you to be part of my community?
So I actually fail really bad at in person meetups and making connections because I am so shy and so awkward and so full of anxiety that, like, I have to talk and be around someone several times before I'm going to retain information about them. before I'm going to feel comfortable really sharing stuff about myself. So it's kind of frustrating for me because most of the relationships that I have in my adult life, I've either made online and they've stayed pretty much only online. I've only met them a couple of times, or it's been people that I was in a situation with every day, like work. So a lot of the
Mm,
people who are very close friends to me now, like I met through a job where I had to be around them all the time. And so I started to feel okay. But for me, conventions and meetups, they can just be overwhelming. And
right.
I just fail very badly at them. And I wish I didn't. Yeah.
This is part why I love the maker community, because you meet someone and you give them a sticker and you exchange stickers, and it's like this sticker swap. It's like exchanging business cards, but at the end of it, you actually have something you want. And when I got home from Maker Camp, I went through all my stickers and I followed all the people, right? And that became like a way of, I've met you in real life, right? We exchanged at minimum pleasantries. I'll follow you. And a year from now, if we haven't talked, I'll unfollow you. But
I guess that's fair because, like, there have been craft fairs I've done where I've exchanged like business cards with other ladies there. So I guess I
mm,
have done a little bit of that, but it's like a very tiny amount.
right. If I talked, and I talked with a few people at Maker Camp, I remember having good conversations with people, and they didn't have a sticker, and I can't for the life of me recall their name or anything about them other than we had a conversation. I'm I know I'm horrible with names, so I'm never going to remember it, and it's not going to be until next Maker Camp and they go, "Oh, we did that thing," and I'll be like, "Oh, I remember." And if they don't have a sticker again, sorry, I'm going to forget you again.
I guess I need to get some stickers made when I get my ass back out there doing stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to come to Maker Camp in October, right?
Maybe.
Putting you on the spot. Now you're going to do it.
I don't.
But
I don't have a stick. I don't have one on me, but I have a sticker of my head with like
yes,
the hair sticking up. So when I at work we have like our Coro folders that has like our timesheet and everything in it, and I put one in there, but it's like just sticking up enough where like because it's one of those folders like a manila folder where it folds over, but like there's a little bit at the top, and my
Mhm.
hair is just sticking up out of it. So every time they open it to sign my timesheet when they sign me on, it's always a bit of a smile there. So funny.
nice. Sounds like you've created a little bit of a community around yourself.
Yeah,
But you know who I think's the best community?
a Patreon.
You're right. And I especially want to thank our F Clamp level, Vincent Ferrari from Digitally Creative, Scott from Dad It Yourself DIY, Joe Herdina, Rich from Low End Design, and David Wood from DW Wood Builds. I want to explain something to everyone. We are going to be switching from a per episode model to a monthly subscription. We're doing this because it's a Patreon's really trying to push it that direction. They're offering some extra things like offers, and so you can like do a sale, or they also do annual at a discounted rate. So we're going to be moving towards that. What that means is we're also going to be doing some rejigging of the levels. So you're going to see some of that. Obviously, we're going to have different levels. They're going to have different things. We're going to be doing that in the future. I want to tell everyone about it now. Stay tuned to patreon.com/clamp. We're still going to be doing the pre-show and the after show. Everyone's going to do that for every episode. We're still going to have the Discord, the Patreon only Discord. And we're going to be doing the Discord, the monthly hangouts on Discord, which we did, and it was so much fun
Mhm.
having the first monthly hangout. It
Yeah,
was, I think we stayed close to midnight, so like 9 till midnight.
it was a
Yeah, it
good
was like
three
two and
hours
a
at
half, three
least.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. So thank you to the few people who showed up for that. I think Brad and Jeremy and Jeff
Austin.
and
Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the last one. Yes, I remember Austin was having problems linking his Discord, and then it wasn't showing the Patreon stuff. Anyways, he eventually figured it out. So head on over to patreon.com/clamp if you want to support us. It's going to be changing. We're going to be doing it probably halfway through May. It's going to happen. Yeah. And so thank you everyone for that. If you can't support us financially, completely understand. We appreciate you just listening. But if you want, you could share an episode and tell everyone about this great community that you found by listening to Clamp, that would be really appreciated. So now, Clampmendations.
Clampmendations. So, my clampmendation of the week is not super recent, but a very good game that I played last year that is now updated and not buggy anymore. It's called Cult of the Lamb. You are basically a cult leader and you rescue, I guess you could call them villagers, maybe, from monsters and sort of bring them into your cult. And you can sacrifice followers that do,
Wow.
sometimes it'll like raise the morale, lower the morale. You can have rituals. You can build a cemetery for your followers that died. Um, it's pretty intense and really weird, but it was very fun. It was really buggy when I played it, but now it's had so many updates and it's very smooth. And if you like things that are dark and weird and kind of funny, I would recommend playing it because some of the things you can do in that game I would never think of in my wildest dreams. And I was a little shocked when I first saw the options. So it's a wild ride and I recommend it to everyone.
Cool. I just clicked on it and there's some really interesting animations on the website. So
Yes.
Yeah, it's just as dark as it looks.
yeah. Well, I'm going to go to a much less dark place, and I'm going to recommend everyone go check out Priscilla and Luke at P&L Smith. They're putting on, again, May for Makers. We had them on last year to talk about it, and they've got some great prompts this year. And you're thinking, oh, but like May is like halfway done or 10 days in or whatever. Don't worry about it. You can start at any point. You don't have to do the prompt on the day. You can catch up. You can just do the prompts. I've only done 2 so far, and it's the 4th. When we're recording this, guess what? It's okay. Just go in there and you can follow the hashtag Made for Makers 2023 and, check out all the different people and maybe find a little community there.
I still look at their name and think it's Please Myth.
Yeah, I know. Please Myth.
Oh no, now I'm not going to be able to read it right anymore.
I'm going to clampmendate another podcast that's just started. They're on episode 2. It's called Two Doting Dads. And it's 2 Instagram/TikTok people in Australia. Ash, who is Jam Pikelets. You've probably seen his stuff. He does a lot of like the wife and husband communicating sort of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but you've probably, like, if you go watch one of his TikToks, you're probably like, oh, I've definitely seen him before. And then Matt used to be on The Bachelorette, I think. He's got an Instagram following. So anyway, so they're just 2 guys, 2 dads, and just tell stories. So each episode's like they tell stories of their life and stuff, and it's just really interesting. Like they're only like 40-minute episodes, but they keep me entertained on the way to work, and yeah, good, relatable.
You'll notice that they are only following 2 people if you go on their Instagram.
They are only following 2 people themselves.
Yeah. They have already 7,349 followers.
Yes,
and
but in saying that's because they're actual, like, Jam Pikelets and Matt and that are already pretty popular. Like Ash has 226,000 followers on Instagram. So
Wow.
yeah, and Matt has 338.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. They definitely needed our help. Good shout. So now we're going to go over into the Ask Us Anything. And this Ask Us Anything comes from Design is Blank. And it says, have you had extended time away from your shop / making things? And then what was the result?
I'll go first because I've actually made a YouTube video and everything on this because I've decided to take a break from YouTube and all that. I actually, to be honest, feel so much happier than I was when I was making it all the time. I'm not putting the stress on myself anymore. I'm still, like, I go into the shop every now and then. I'll probably go down to the shop after this actually for a little bit before I've got to go out. But I don't know. I feel less pressured, and I've also changed my shop a lot. It's not just a woodworking shop anymore. It's just like tinkering, pretty much, and I like it.
Do you want to go, Grant, or should I?
No, go ahead.
So it's the opposite for me. I have had a lot of health and mental problems since about 2015, and I have not been making like I used to. I feel constant guilt about it. I don't enjoy not making, but it's a nice depression cycle that I get stuck in. And so I think about it a lot. I beat myself up about not doing it, and then I just don't do it. Lately, I really have been thinking about starting doing something again.
Like
Because
making a
I
monitor
am
stand.
that's like the bottom of my list. But I mean, I do always feel good when I'm productive and getting things done. And yeah, I don't really have anything in my life now that is keeping me from it except depression, probably. So I need to find a way to get over the hump. I've been trying and it just hasn't worked yet. But I would say nothing good came out of me taking extended time away. And yeah, I want to get back into it, and hopefully I will at some point, because I think I've given myself more grief over not making all the time and being like super on top of things than I should.
Fair. So I can't think of having extended time away from my shop other than like when I was doing a renovation on my shop, which then I was like renovating it. So it's like, I don't know. I can't think of a time. I can think like maybe when I was in university, I didn't have available like any of my modeling stuff because I used to make like little car models and I used to race RC cars, and like that was my like tinkering and whatever. And when I was in university, I didn't have access to that because I lived in residence slash dorms. And that really kind of changed things because I kind of got more into playing like computer games, and I think that's kind of where it went with that, because before that I wouldn't really, and not even just playing them, like watching other people play with computer games. Um, and so I think like I just got into, but then you know what? I remember what I did. I started modifying people's computer cases. So even then, I brought a Dremel and I cut out like the sides of people's computer cases and would add little bits of plexiglass that I hot glued onto the sides of it, with like nicely done. Sounds like way jankier. Looked
Tastefully
good from the
done.
outside. Yeah, tastefully done. But it looked, looked okay. But that's what I would do, and I would do like little LED mods and stuff like that. So even then, when I didn't really have access to real tools, I was still doing it.
Yeah.
So
My
pretty
making's
impressive.
definitely changed. Like before I got into like woodworking and YouTube and all that stuff, that's pretty much all I ever did was, $5 LED strips off eBay and modify everything I could.
All right. Well, good question. Thank you very much. Design is blank. I want to thank TF Turning for the theme song. If you want to find us, you can find us collectively at Clampstagram, ClampTube, and ClampBook, as well as Clamp Talk. That's where we're at. All the different things. Just search for Clamp Podcast and you'll find us there. If you want to find us individually, you find me at the Grant Alexander. You can find Adam at Maker Mackey. You can find Jessy at Jessy Waffink. And until next time, cheers.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.